What's up, everybody?
morning.
Good morning. Happy Friday.
Happy
Welcome
Friday.
to the Real Estate Unwrapped crew.
Yes, sir.
Gigi, you're on mute, so I'm gonna
Oh,
unmute
I
you real
am.
quick.
On
You're
mute.
good. You're good.
Thank you. Thank you. I thought I was
You're
unmuted.
good.
All right, that's good. Good
Happy
morning,
Friday,
guys.
folks.
How you
It
Yeah.
guys
is
doing? How's
Friday.
your week? Talk to me about your weeks. How was it?
Crazy,
Interesting.
jam
Good.
packed. We got
Hot.
a call about to get a listing this weekend. Another listing. Let's go. Rack it
Good.
up. Rack him up.
That's good. That's good.
Somebody said the beard. Happy belated Izzy. Oh, your birthday was a while back.
It's
Yeah,
okay. But
I'm
happy belated anyways. Whoever that is, happy belated. First,
I'm assuming who's the beard. Is
Happy
that-
pre-birthday, Ed. It's in a
Oh
couple
my
of
God.
weeks. Yes.
Couple- Jesus, I can't believe it's like 3
I'll
weeks
take
from
it.
now.
I'll take it. I'll take it. I'll take any birthdays. I'll take it.
That's
As long as there's good
funny.
cake in there. That's all I take.
Let's go show the beard. The beard.
The beard.
Absolutely.
I didn't get that
Absolutely.
name. This is the first time I'm getting called Lay Beard. Lay Beard.
La barbe. Yeah.
La barbe.
That's how you say it in French?
Yeah.
They call it in
Yeah.
Spanish, it's La Barba.
There you
La
go.
barbe.
Yeah, same thing.
That's
All right,
perfect.
guys. All right. So today,
Interesting
Is it-
topic.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
interesting.
yeah,
I think
because
so.
we figured, we always get questions from agents a lot of the times, and we figured we actually highlight some of those and answer them for you. So if you guys feel free to comment, feel free to ask your questions.
Ask your questions,
So
please
yes,
do. Yeah.
we're live at the Alliance Movement right now. We're live on my
Sure.
Facebook page, on
We're
YouTube.
live on YouTube. We're
Yeah,
worldwide. We're global.
There you
Pitbull
go.
is going to have us on his next event. Let's talk about that.
Who?
Worldwide. Okay. Pitbull.
Pitbull.
Worldwide. Mr.
Oh,
Worldwide.
okay. Oh, you see, I'm like, okay. Oh, whatever.
Eh?
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 Pitbull, what? All
So
right.
what's cool about today? I mean, I love it, and you guys already just mentioned it. So we are either in the office or outside, or always working with new agents, or having to work with buyers and sellers, and always getting different types of questions here and there.
Right.
Questions.
Let me add the way we are structured in our organization, which is actually phenomenal. You know how a lot of the times there is a lot of competitions with our agents, like in other structures of the regular real estate model. It doesn't pay to really help the other agents because they're your competition. In our organization, it's a whole different ball game. We actually believe in collaborations over competitions, right? So collaboration over competition. So we help as much as we can, right? To especially the new agents, and those sometimes they just fall off their track and need to get back, and we want to make sure everybody's happy and producing,
Right.
and it's just good for everybody, right? So
I
this
think
is
so.
where, go ahead. I just want
So,
to make sure
I
everybody
know-
knows.
Hold on a second. I know we got a ton of questions. I know we were talking about this before. My question right now to you two is, do we go over the questions now or at the end of the segment? What do you
No,
guys want
absolutely right now, because honestly,
Let's-
we have a lot of
that's
questions.
it.
We should go
Yeah.
over it.
Yeah.
I mean, these are simple questions. I mean, if you think about it, I mean, honestly, like some of the questions are one of the top ones that I get when I'm in the office sometimes is like, what's DTI and how do you
Oh,
calculate that? Right. So debt to income ratio is based on two things. Our market is all co-ops, which actually, in some cases is either DTIs or financial incomes. And banks also look at DTIs. That's pretty much their part of their bread and
Qualify,
butter,
yeah.
So theirs is up to 47%, where, in most co-ops is between 28. I know one that's about 25.
Yeah.
Right. I know one that's 25. Others have gone up to at least 32. And how do you calculate that? Really, in a small segment way of breaking this down is you take your monthly debts to your monthly income, and that should be a good way to actually
Right.
figure
You
out.
just divide your monthly debt by your monthly income.
Just divide
But
those two, and that's your DTI right
what
there.
is your monthly debt, let's say, when you're buying a co-op apartment? Because that's the question that comes in a lot.
most.
Like you don't want to wait to know what your possible debt to income would be when you're actually looking to purchase an apartment. I think it's the mistake of a lot of agents are not to actually help the buyer with that knowledge. So it's called pre-qualification. So I guess if you're able to produce as many documents as possible showing your income and actually your, all your financial ability for not only closing cost, down payment, and then of course post-closing reserve, which is very important. So if you could help your agent as a buyer with that, it's fantastic. So what does your debt consist of, right?
Right. Your debt consists of a
Right, go
lot of.
ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, well, thank you for throwing me in there.
Well, it's
Yeah,
okay.
So
I think you were going to say something.
No, I wasn't. I was just kind of, doing my thing. But
Well, then I'll just jump on the horse
Chime
again.
in. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I mean, look, I'm here. I'm already here.
There
I'll
you
let
go.
you guys
All
know.
right.
The debt is anything you're paying on a monthly basis. That could be credit card payments. That could be student loans. That could be child support. That could be car loans, car payments. If you have another mortgage, that's going to be considered debt as well. Even if it's a residential place that you're renting out. What I do see, it's kind of like a catch-22 when there's a lot of business owners or people that own multiple properties. They always want to kind of clear out, I guess, what they made in income and then justify it with all the expenses they had to endure. So if you're looking to purchase, just kind of make sure that you're counting your money correctly. I know we want to just kind of write everything off so we don't have to pay anything. But when you're buying a property,
but in the co-op debt to income calculation, I don't think the co-op boards are even looking for those expenses. Even when somebody is looking to purchase a co-op and I've had a client who had 10 residential properties at investment. So here you have with an Excel spreadsheet, and it gets very complicated for co-ops to calculate their debt. But as a regular person, your debt would include the actual mortgage that you would pay on that property, estimated, according to your down payment. So that would be your monthly mortgage payments, the maintenance of that building, and then anything that shows on your credit report. That's why, a lot of buyers are asking why you need to see my credit report. Mainly, we want to see the credit lines and your payment history. If it's a good payment history, basically the credit score is not really important. Like I know some people are worried that below 7 they might not be approved. But what if you have a student loan? That is pretty hefty. That gets your credit score really low. But also student loans, so all the car payments, the student loans, whatever other real estate you may have, has to be calculated. So this is what you're going to take all that monthly debt divided by your monthly income, and you're going to get a ratio.
Bless you.
Below 28%, ideal. Ideal. Yeah.
Ideal, but everybody's different.
Everybody's different, yeah. And it's, at the end of the day, if you're a buyer who's looking to buy, just make sure you're working with an agent and, that knows the system and knows how to do DTI. Work with a broker that knows how to do that too, a lender as well. Because at the end of the day, you don't want to spend 4 or 5 months on this. And that's pretty much the max.
I have to also mention that not all lenders are created equal. I got a lot of offers on co-ops, and then you're reviewing the documents from the buyer, and then you are seeing the number one, the pre-approval that is not even a pre-approval for a co-op. And when talking to the loan officer, making sure you're getting the right information, they're like, oh yeah, the DTI is great, it's 43%. And I'm like, we're dealing with a co-op here. That's not gonna work. What do you mean? We'll finance them, maybe, but the board won't approve them. So yeah, I mean, you gotta know, you gotta deal with someone that can deal with that. And the good thing is, within organization, within the Alliance movement, we're getting tons of training on DTL calculation. Actually, Israel put together with Olga Savelov this fantastic spreadsheet that will calculate all your closing costs and your DTI for any single type of properties, co-op, condos, 1 to 4 family. All right, so you guys with the Alliance movement, please contact either of us and we'll be able to provide you with that spreadsheet. Right?
Absolutely.
That's a good one.
Yeah, it's always a good question.
Oh, here goes. Okay, so talking about, do you want to go over the co-op process or you want to go quickly? We don't even have to have a big conversation on that.
Here's how quick that co-op process happens. You ready? You see the place. You submit an offer with your realtor. That offer goes to the seller's attorney. The seller's agent. They submit the offer. If it gets accepted, the seller's attorney then creates the contracts. As the contracts are created, they also get the bylaws, house rules, building financials, and
Offering
the
plan.
allocation, the offering plan. Some buildings have offering plans, some don't.
Some don't.
I'm dealing with the building now that they were never a renter building. They started off as a co-op building.
Yeah, so they don't need.
So they had like a proprietary lease, correct? And then once they get those documents, they send those docs over to the buyer's attorney. The buyer's attorney then reviews those documents with the buyers. If everything makes sense and the buyer likes what he sees, they leave a deposit, sign the contract, send it over to the seller's attorney. Seller's attorney then receives that package, all right? Deposits the check in escrow because that's what they have to do. They can't be commingling funds over here and putting them in their own account. So they're going to put that in the escrow account. Once that sits in the escrow account, sellers gets the contracts. They review it. If all the terms and conditions make sense, they sign it. You're now in an accepted offer. That right there is cool. But then after that, there's so many moving parts that could potentially take you 3 to 4 months in order
6
for
months,
you.
sometimes, yes.
Listen, I like to do what the car dealers do, right? They give you tier 1. They're like, this is what your payment's gonna be at tier 1. And then when they run your credit, they're like, I'm sorry, you're
tier
5,
7.
You know?
Right,
so
right.
If everything works perfectly, if you do everything you need to do to get your documents over to the bank, to the lender, so that they can go ahead and give you that commitment letter, usually it takes 30 to 45 days.
But there is one little thing. So once you have the contract, let's not forget the bank. Once you're going to run through the mortgage application, the bank is going to send the appraisal. You're going to have the appraisal inspection. You're going to have, then you're going to wait for the appraisal.
That's within that 30 to 45 day commitment. So
that's where real estate agents play really an intricate, important role in this. People don't really realize. So if you're aware you're going to have
wait, that's the question. That's the question right there. Question just popped up. Pop quiz time. So the question is, when the appraisal is scheduled, whether you're the seller's agent or the buyer's agent, all right, what role do we play at the appointments of the appraisal? Before
even, I'm going to tell you as a seller's agent, before I even go to the appointment, I want to make sure I get in touch with the appraiser. I want to make sure he gets the management company, has a contract, because once they do their due diligence, they're going to come back and ask for, sometimes they want a questionnaire from the management company. And those questionnaires are not official. Right. So if you know the building well, you should be able to help out the appraiser answering a whole bunch of questions.
Yeah.
All right. He's going to want to make sure he has a contract. You want to make sure you help him with a floor plan of that apartment, so he can come in prepared and just put in his note, even though he's going to have to redo his calculations. But sometimes I tell them, here, this is a floor plan of a Matterport. Those are the accurate dimensions. They were scanned by Matterport. So you just want to use this as cross-reference. They're very happy. I give them my comparables. I say, I ask them if they know the area very well and the co-op market in that area, and that some buildings are different. And they say, here, I'm going to give you comps from this building. We're not going to go with this building, and this building is completely different. If, sometimes you have to go out, and they really appreciate that, and they're like, okay, great. Now I got the comps. I'm going to double check, make sure she's right. And they ask you a couple of questions, and then it goes really, really well. That's my part. I don't have to go to the inspection itself, but I like to do the prep work and the post-inspection follow-up with the appraiser. Yeah.
All right. So I like what you said. You taught me something new right there, because I never get I get in contact with them before the appointment, and that's because we're scheduling the appointment.
Right.
But I've never really taken the time to give them, for example, if you're dealing with a co-op management company information, you know what I mean?
You
I never
ask
did that.
if they have it. Yeah, if they don't, you're like, okay, let me hook you up. I'm going to give you everything you need.
And then I've never given them the contracts either, because I didn't know.
And you know what? You know what it does? Because it's basically, over the 27 years I've been doing this, the same appraisers come back up. So it's like, when they got an appraisal, hey, they just text me, hey, Gigi, your bank sent me an appraisal on your listing. And it's like, oh, yeah, cool. And they know who I am. So it's like, it's already making it easier. If they have questions, we keep each other's number. They can text me. I'm not saying it's an automatic approval, but it makes the job easier for everybody. The appraiser loves it.
Yeah.
I
actually, it's funny that you mentioned that, because like I said, I've never done that myself. What I have done is, whether I'm on the seller side or the buyer side, I always try to present comps to justify the reason why we are in contract for what we're in contract for.
Yeah.
So like you said, same thing. I'm not even going to go over it, but floor plan, comps of what's sold recently, what's already pending, what's on the market, all of that stuff right there would justify the
and then
I'll
also give them, sometimes when the co-op has a certain price requirement, I'm like, yo, dude, I mean, this is what we face with. We cannot below that price, and so and I give them the terms of the contract. We'll work with the credit back at closing. If you can help me out with this, oh yeah, I can do that, no problem. I'll put it in my calculation, no big deal.
So all of that happens within a 30 to 45 days span. 45 days later, God willing, the bank gives you commitment letter. You get the commitment letter. You get the Aztec letters. All of that gets included in the application. Hopefully, in those 30 to 45 days, you've completed the application to a T, reviewed it with your agent.
And the listing agent. I am always sitting down
with the listing agent.
I have buyer's agent, the package is complete, it's great. I'm like, please just let me review before we send it. Just want to make sure.
And it's all messed up.
And it's like, not complete.
Didn't you see the application? It said single page.
I know.
Do not bind.
No, I know.
Why is this back to back?
I know. So this is where, again, experience working the financial statement, which is usually the most. I mean, I can run through a financial statement. I know what to look for, but I would say 95% of the time those are incomplete and incorrect. And
that's true.
You'll agree with me, Israel, right? So you always have to get back on that. Yeah. So that's putting this application package together is really, really important. You really have to pay. Yeah.
Let me just jump. I mean, I almost feel that people. I mean, the first 3 pages of an application is always the same.
Right.
Description of the building, description of something. Thank you for applying. Blah blah blah. And then you have all these requirements from 1 to 25, 1 to 30, whatever the case is.
Disclosures. Right. 17 disclosures.
But right, exactly. But you'll have all of these requirements.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. To a certain point, they either miss those requirements, they don't do a notary public parts, they don't fill in the correct amount of what they're earning per month. They don't actually put in how much cash they have in the bank. I mean, if it's 25,000, but they put in 24,000.
They summarize when everything should be to the cent.
They round
don't
up.
Tell me, I have about $3,000 in my savings. That's not how it works.
So, I mean, doing an application is not easy. I mean, I certainly think that's for those who are dealing with a lot of co-ops, or may do so, and later on, either a small class to exactly know how to do an application is worth it. You know, what things can you do and add on to an application to help the application?
And what is important to have? Yeah.
Adding a purchase cost analysis, adding things to make it look, shiny and bright when they open it up. So,
but what also is important is management companies will get to know you as an agent.
Yes.
And the more flawless your board package is and easy to just go through for management, the transfer agent doesn't want to have to call you back 10 times. This is missing. This is this. They would appreciate when sometimes I go and just deliver it, especially John Beloved. I'll go and deliver it. I know we used to have this nice transfer agent, Donna, who just left. It's like you just give them a little something, some iced tea, some donuts, some this and that. Have this nice package. See how everybody is doing, and then they don't have to call you back. Sometimes you can ask them questions throughout the years on certain aspect of that whatever co-op they're dealing with, to see whether you accept co-purchasers and so on and so forth, if you don't remember what it is. But they would appreciate if they don't have to call you back for additional documents. That's
Right.
annoying. And
Right.
sometimes they would turn the package down and they would write it in the application. That could be a denial right there because the package is not well prepared, and that's not fair to the buyer. And the buyer doesn't necessarily need to know how to put that package together because it's a tough thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So once
been
the
asked
package,
before.
once the package is over in review and management, management runs the credit, then sends it to the board. The boards just do their run through. Sometimes they just count on management to do the run through, not necessarily great, especially in your building, Israel. Don't have anything to say. Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Okay.
And then you go for the once they approve that file, the buyer is gonna go for an interview, right?
Yeah.
That's another point where you need
So
to
hold
prep
on.
your
The
buyer.
application process, once you submit it and it's complete and you submit it to the board, that could potentially take anywhere between 3 to 6 weeks for them to fully go through it.
Ooh,
It
it depends.
Yeah, it depends on
Mostly,
the building.
Yeah, either building or management itself. Because honestly,
Yeah.
it's so.
You mean to tell me
Yes.
you guys have gotten applications cleared before 3 weeks?
Yes.
I
When
have,
I
yeah.
know the board, when I know the board president, when I have
Okay.
Yeah.
If you know
Well,
everybody,
here's
then
two
that's a
things.
different story.
Right. So here's two things to know also. Is when you do an application, as an agent, you should call management and see when do they meet up. When does the board meet up?
Yeah.
Right. When is the cutoff date for you to actually submit that application?
Mm-hmm.
Because I almost ran into that situation as of 2-3 days ago. I finally got in contact with the management, and they were like, we have to have it by tomorrow.
Ooh.
And thankfully, I already finished everything with the application. The listing agent finally reviewed it, whatever, and I was able to get it to them quickly. But here's the thing. The good thing about it is that some management companies do provide an expediting fee. So if you have a time constraint situation with your buyer, you can always pay for the expediting fee to make it done even quicker.
In 1 week. In 1 week, they would review.
1 week, 2 weeks, right?
Right.
However,
Depending.
in the 3 weeks, depending on the 3 weeks, the thing is that what follows that becomes a little bigger is that it always lands into the point of holidays.
Yeah.
You go
And
into
then who's
holidays,
available?
all of a sudden now it becomes a little longer. Now all of a sudden it's we have to wait 2-3 months.
On average, if a buyer tells you, "Hey, Israel, hey, Gij, never bought a co-op before, first time. How long do you think this application process is going to take?" What is your answer?
From the time you submit the application to the time you get a
a
board
call
interview,
for interview
about
or rejection.
a month. A month
I
would
guess
be
a
an
month.
average.
So on the
3
safe
weeks to a
side,
month. Yeah.
conservative side, that's the reason why I say 3 to 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Only because it could take less, it could take a little bit more.
Yeah,
But
you're right.
for me, that's kind of like the
Yeah.
safety zone. You know what I mean?
Then you prep your buyer to go to the board interview. The board really wants to make sure they're not going to get anybody reckless living in the building that could be a detriment to the other residents. So
What I will say-
don't talk about playing, rehearsing your rock and roll band at 1:00 in the morning in the apartment. That's not going to work. Recreational drugs either. Stuff like that. So
even if it's legal, right? Even if it's
Right.
legal, and
Right.
okay,
Yeah.
don't mention it.
Yeah.
Right.
Like boards are usually a little bit more on the conservative side, so they want to see nice people that abide by the building rules. And
The
that's
one
what they
rule,
wanna have.
I mean, the one advice I tend to always tell the buyers is that it's your neighbors. You don't know whether they live on top of you, next to you, or below you. They just want to know you as a neighbor. Are you going to be a pain? Are you going to be somebody's quiet? They just want to know who you are. All the other stuff, financial stuff, they already read. So if they ask you more about it, then just know your financial information with that.
Yeah. So in most cases, once you get through the board interview, it's 95% chances you're going to be approved, unless you're completely reckless. So once the board approves you, then you still have another set of waiting a little bit longer, because now this whole board package has to be finalized for closing prep with the co-op attorney, right? So that's going to take that could take probably sometimes another 2-3 weeks, right? Because the co-op attorney is not only dealing with that particular co-op, but many other co-ops, and they tend to be really, really busy. And they still have to coordinate with the bank for the buyer, the attorney for the buyer, attorney for the seller, themselves, the co-op attorney. Could take a few weeks, and finally you're going to get at closing table. So co-op process is a lot of little moving parts along the way, and it's good to have somebody who's very knowledgeable about the co-op process and guide you calmly through that process. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm glad you guys brought it up. I actually just finished commenting on our chat. That's me, Facebook user right here. So I sent this out to you guys only because these are 3 different links that I like to use whenever I'm preparing a buyer for the first
Very
time that's
nice.
going through the
Wow.
co-op interview process. So if you
Mhm.
guys want, copy those links, check them out for yourself. I love to give this out to the buyers. And then once they've already gone through like the review of the application, they receive the phone call. It's the day before the day of
Mhm.
interview. Not only after I send them these articles like maybe a day, 2 days before, but once it's the day of the interview, I give them a pep talk, send them a text message. Hey, you know what? Today's the big day. You got
Yeah.
this. I know you got this. You're ready. The cooperative is going to enjoy you as a neighbor. Things like that, just to kind of prep them and get them ready. But those articles, like I said, I like to use and share with my buyers. So I hope that helps.
Oh, I'm just right there. I'm gonna copy this into because this is on the Alliance movement. Can I copy
Yeah.
that? I probably can do
Let
it
me
on
see
my
if I can.
computer. I'll copy it, guys, and share it on my Facebook account because it's only on the Alliance movement. But hey, let's move on to the next question that we had, guys. Oh, here you go. I think this one is for the two of you guys, and I know Israel, you demonstrated that you're a master at this one.
Okay.
Somebody was asking, what is the best way to convert a renter to a buyer? I've known like if you're taking Sekou Piles training, you probably have heard of this. So I want to hear it from the one guy that knows about it is you, Israel. How do
Well, I
you convert
mean,
a buyer from a renter from a buyer? Are they even qualified?
right. So obviously, it's all about qualifications. When you actually start asking your renters, qualifications, even for the rental itself, right?
Mm-hmm.
In mind, you should always keep in mind of your market, regardless of what market you're in. Pretty much know how much something's worth at a certain amount. So if pretty much at 1,800, you can easily almost get in certain areas. You can almost get a 1 bedroom in our area or studio, depending on the price, depending on the area, right? So with that frame in mind, even at 18 or 15 or 1,600, a couple of questions I tend to ask is, ask about their qualifications for rentals, and then start asking them why they haven't thought about buying ever.
Mm-hmm.
What's holding them back? Why?
Usually it's the money.
Right. Could be the
Right.
money. Could be the credit. Right. Or it could be the timing. It's a lot of different things, a lot of different puzzles that one run into. Now,
Could
think
also
of it
be
this way: when you're
not
renting,
enough information. Sorry, I felt
Or
that one
sometimes
was
it's
missing.
just that they're
yeah,
not there at that time, Like I think I
that's true
asked this
too.
question last week to a to a prospective tenant for a rental house for, like close to $5,000 a month. And the combined income is over $600,000 in that household. And obviously it's like, why are you renting? you know
Right,
it's like your
right, right,
credit
right.
is like 800. You're going to shell out $5,000 a month in rent, plus you're going to pay all the utilities.
Yeah.
What's the thought process here? Why don't you want to buy a house
I
instead?
Exactly.
I
So,
had somebody I had somebody like that. Sorry, brother. I didn't mean to just cut in.
okay.
But I real quick, small story. I had somebody like that. He was working self-employed, made the income and everything, was gonna pay almost at that time like 30 like 3 years ago, $3,200 in monthly
Mhm.
rent for a fully attached house in Kew Garden Hills.
Wow.
And I
Yep.
was just like, you could buy your own property. He says, nah, honestly, I want to buy, he told me, but it's just that for the amount of income and funds that he has, he's going to be able to purchase something like under 200,000. Clearly, that's not something that he can do in that area of Queens. So he said he was going to hold off, but I feel like people are just not prepared or ready, or maybe they just don't have enough information to know
They
what the
don't
concerns
have
are.
enough information.
And that's where it runs into. I mean,
Yeah.
having that information, and then timing again. So timing is also another thing. Some people don't want to commit a year or two or even 30 years into a house, right? Or 15 years in some cases, because they feel that they're, oh my God, I'm only committed to this particular house, or I'm only committed to this. In some cases, some people are traveling nurses or just traveling somewhere, and they just can't pilots. They just can't be in one location at one time. So to pretty much summarize that kind of question or that answer is pretty much when you're speaking to a renter, when you're speaking to a potential tenant every single time, you should ask in that sense, what are your thoughts in the sense of buying a home? What's holding you back from buying a home? Have you ever thought about buying a home? Have you ever thought about actually, instead of paying for your landlord's mortgage, you buy,
that's what it is. I mean,
right? You
imagine
pay
that.
for your own mortgage. How about you actually improve on the fact of actually getting more equity for your home in the next 3 years instead of paying for the mortgage?
Imagine
little
this:
bit of tax breaks?
you're renting a house,
Right.
2,000, not even a house, an apartment, $2,000 a month. It's probably not even a 2-bedroom in this market. It's a 1-bedroom, and
Right.
like $24,000 a year in 4 years is $100,000. You've
Exactly.
given your landlord $100,000 to pay his mortgage, to pay everything, and you're getting nothing. You cannot even deduct anything unless you
Can't deduct
working
anything in
from.
taxes. Can't do anything with that, right? So,
Right.
and even if you have, other programs, see, the thing is that most folks have the idea of actually 20% down. It's always 20% down.
Yeah.
It's not. You have the 3.5. You also have the 5%. Whichever program works best for you, that's the lowest you can go.
I
So those
even
folks
got
don't even.
introduced to, and this year I think you have to really know what you're doing, to the NACA programs where it's income there is an income limit,
Income
but
driven.
it's income driven. But hold
Income
on,
driven.
there is something else. I just learned this week. Some people, I've seen this buyer making over $150,000 by looking to buy a NACAP, a house with a NACAP program, based on the location of the property. You
Right.
see? So that also has, and where, like if you basically like a newer buyer and you may have the income but may not have the funds, sometimes those programs fall into place for you. And I was thinking, wow, this is like amazing. Like some of the program could provide, like the first time home buyer programs with helping with the closing costs. There is a lot of things that in my time was not available. And now, like a lot of things are opened up for those first time home buyers.
It's a good program. Again, some programs are good for you, some programs aren't. You got to look into that for yourself.
Yeah,
See what's going to benefit
some
you, what's
programs
not.
are constrict you to doing some training, some
My
seminars, some stuff
my
like that.
only
But
thing, my only thing was because I attended a NACA presentation. I went through the whole process. I know how to kind of go through it, but it does take time. It does take time. It's something that the way they look at it is they go based off of the amount of money that you're looking to pay, right? So if I was coming up to you and say, hey, Israel, how much would you be willing to spend on a mortgage or taxes or maintenance? And you're like, oh, I only want to spend $1,000. They want to see you save up $1,000 on the outside of all your bills, everything that you need to pay for, and outside of that, they want to see you save up $1,000 for the next 3 to 6 months.
But that's showing responsibilities, and that
I'm
normal.
not saying I'm not saying
great.
no.
Yeah. I mean,
It's
to
phenomenal.
me, and you're
But if
getting
you're
guided
hold on, Jeeves.
into
If
doing
you're
this.
looking to purchase here in Queens, I just don't see a seller waiting 6 to 9 months for you to go through the process for them to
It
then
doesn't
sell you the
necessarily
house.
have to be 6 to 9 months. I spoke to this agent who did over 150 NACA sales. And because of how she's trained and really knowledge into the process, and I was really, really impressed with what she was telling me. Unfortunately, my seller was not interested in the program and wanted, seeing what the buyers had in their bank account, was looking for more money. But and those buyers decided to move away. But that agent was actually brilliant, because she actually made a niche market out of this because most people want to steer away because it's too much work. But she made it where the time constraint, whatever people think is going to be 6 months, she packs it down. She's like, my process is going to be like 30 to 40 days. So even if it's an extra month from a regular transaction, why not, right? But anyway, let's get back to the rental thing. If
Well,
you're
we
going to
can.
think,
I'll
yeah,
conclude it this way because there was another question you threw in there real quick. So I'll conclude it real quick. Make sure to answer all your every tenant, every potential tenant that you have, the qualifying questions. Find out, what they can afford. How can they afford it, and what kind of credits they have. You got to always think
yeah,
about something when it comes to rentals. Rentals always want something 680 and above, right?
yeah,
When it comes to buying, you can go up to 600 or 580 in certain cases,
580
right? In certain cases, it all
for the
depends on the
credit,
program
yeah.
that you're working on. So educate your tenants, the potential tenants that you have. Ask them every single time. Have you ever thought about
When it
buying?
comes to
Let's look at
income,
this. Let's
yeah, you're
have
looking.
somebody. Let's have a lender go in there, and let me have a lender speak to you and see what potential buying power you have in
Right,
order to get your next home. Because
yeah,
I'm sure you'd rather spend it on your mortgage than having to spend it on
right,
the
yeah,
landlord's
yeah, yeah.
mortgage.
I just
But
wanted to recap, yeah. So
yeah, of course.
renting a property, it's landlords are usually looking for 700 or above credit score, and they're usually looking for income to be about 40 times that rent,
That's
right?
right.
So
In most
it's like,
cases, I would think so. Yeah.
yeah, I mean the monthly income to be the monthly rent to be 40 times to the income to yearly income to be 40 times the rent. So you're like, wow, and
Yeah.
those
But I'm sure we
ratios.
could do a quick class on this real
Oh,
quick on that. So
definitely,
it'll
yeah,
be
yeah,
a
we
much
should.
bigger, 30 minutes.
Spectrum to see what
Yeah, we
we
can
can
throw it
get. Yeah.
all information for them. But you threw the word niche in there, which I loved, in the sense of how do you find your niche, right? And how do you know you have a niche for that particular product? That is actually something interesting. I've actually spoken to a lot of people. They don't know. They're always on a hamster wheel. They don't know whether they should only work on for sale by owners or if they should only work on expires. Especially in our beautiful market of New York State, we're not allowed to call any of those guys. However,
Let's remind
um,
everybody.
however, am I only a renter
Yeah.
agent or am I just a person who likes to work on short sales or NACA? The thing I always say to agents that always ask me that question is, work on every part of the avenue as best as you can, and where you're getting the best results is part of create that niche out of it.
Sometimes it's
So,
also necessity. If I'm gonna go back to my story of origin, which I'm gonna use
uh
Coach Michael Burt's terms in there, um,
huh,
I became a listing agent out of necessity.
okay,
It
there you
was
go.
not like something like I could not afford running around all day with buyers, being a single parent with children in school. I had
Right,
to decide on my niche right away. It's like, what is going to be making the most sense for me? Like, and it was like, not even, I didn't even put too much thought in that. It was necessity and survival. So this is what I got to do to feed my family, you know?
I like how you said that.
Hmm?
I like how you said that because it's true.
Right.
Usually, you
And
got to find the fire that's burning, and that
right,
was your
this
fire.
agent that was a
yeah,
NACA agent actually went into real estate, and this is we had enough time because I was really interested in her story. Um, she's telling me she bought her first property as a with the NACA program, and as she
right,
was going through the process, because she got educated, she goes, "Why don't I freaking get my license instead of having a 9 to 5 job?" I can, I going through the program. I understand how things are done. I can just and she's very organized. So it's like, I can do it in a shorter time. And yes, she did. And then she got more education. While she was
good,
buying that house, she got her license and decided to work on NACA buyers because she was already with the NACA program.
Yeah,
So it was, and that's how she got those buyers and stuff and started working it. And I think this is how she found her niche.
yeah,
Convenience, sometimes, necessity, and sometimes just the experience of life throw you in there,
yeah.
right?
No, it's true.
absolutely,
It's how life flows. I guess it flows like water, right? Once you need something, it's almost like, all right, well, it's a burning desire. It becomes a burning
Oh yeah,
desire, and you're
yeah,
starting to put work behind it.
yeah,
Like the change of the market right now. A few months ago, and I was just casually having conversations with my friends about this, but I was just like, man, you know what? Like we said it, the market shifted, right? The market is shifting. They're going through a shift. At that time, I was like, damn, you know what? If anything, we're gonna go into a mode where, in order for us to really make it happen, we got to start focusing more on getting listings. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Because of the fact of, at the end of the day, the pool of buyers is shrinking. Interest rates is going up. People that used to qualify for 800,000 now qualify for 700,000. You know what I mean? People that used to qualify for a single family home now qualify for a co-op. You know what I mean? So everything is kind of shifting and changing. So we got to put ourselves in that position. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's literally what I've been trying to focus on for the past
But
6 months.
isn't that like a natural progression? Because I know you had ever since you started working real estate, and I know you started working with buyers, but now you have enough experience with buyers. You have a big enough pool of those, what is called your sphere of influence, like people you've been working, you and they were working
Right.
with you. You sold them a house. Now they know you. Now hopefully you're following up with them, and now that's how you're getting your business back as a selling agent, as a listing agent. Same thing with Israel, you know.
Yep.
Correct.
You know, so it's like
well,
natural progression of things, right?
And it's
yeah,
nice.
in the past, I used to hear words like listings is your career and buying helps you pay for your bills.
Right.
So it's like that's pretty much how you should always look at it. You know, you should always try to get to, which adds on to another question I get too, is like, should I work with more buyers or should I work with more sellers?
It depends.
You know, and then exactly, it all depends on, you know, what you can work on at that time. And really most people will say, what is like an 80-20 or 60-40 split,
70-30,
60-40.
or 70-30, right? So
I have
50-50.
I have a comment on this, because over the last 2.5 years, it was so easy to get a buyers. They were just falling off the sky, right?
Yeah,
You didn't need you didn't need any skills to just like, buyer, they want to buy, they're ready to buy, they're gonna make an offer over us that said buyer, blah, 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 buyer, you know. And now we're shifting back into a market where it's most of my career, this is what I've known, where you have to work a little bit on getting buyers and making sure they qualified. I've been in those markets with rates over 7, 8, 9, you know, like I've been there, and it was no big deal because this is the way things were.
Yeah.
You know?
But the cost of that property also wasn't what it is now.
But people were not making as much money as what they're making now. So it's all relative. It's the same thing. I don't think, you know, it's like you have the media making a big hoopla and like making it sensational, when in fact we're going back to what was normal 10 years ago, 20 years ago. We're not saying, you know, like maybe 20 years ago.
Minus the inflation.
No, there was inflation. If you remember in the 90s,
not to this extent, though.
No, take a look at things. Yeah.
When you look at numbers, I think she's right about that.
No, it's not. It's just like, you know, I think the news media is making it into such a big thing, and it doesn't mean that because you're going to have a recession that prices are going to go down, or that things are, and historically it's been shown. I just feel news media is making it sound a lot worse than what it is.
Listen, if you didn't know, here's a little advice. The news media has a different agenda.
Yes, we know. All right.
We'll leave it there before we get canceled.
Right. Let's not even say anything.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
But you're absolutely right. I mean, honestly, inflations, you know, interest rates, everything has this, you know, its own calculations of actually balancing things out.
It's a period of readjustment. We need to get back into, you know, and I'm not necessarily agreeing politically with everything that is out there, or it's not even politically, it's on a human level. I don't even think it's political for me lately. It's human on the human level.
You know what I almost think about it is that it goes back to that 21-day adjustment situation.
Yeah.
You know, like it's not going to take us 21 days to adjust to what's going on, because
it takes 21 days to create a habit. So yes.
Right. So the point that I'm trying to make is that it's not the 21 days. I just think it takes a couple of months. Our industry is not based on days. Our industry is based on months, or even cycles. It's cyclical anyway. So It could be like next season, all of a sudden, it's like that shit's already hit us, or it's 2 seasons from now.
We
The point I'm
mentioned
trying to make
this
with that is,
last week, like
yeah,
everything when we talked about the recession rule, that bridge between the beginning of that recession and knowing that we're actually in recession and feeling it, it's going
yeah,
to take 90 days. So
that's
yes,
it.
next quarter is when like we're gonna be in that change.
In the
And
fall.
that's for us to get ready while you're going through that change. And
Absolutely.
maybe going back to the basics. And this is where a lot of agents
So,
are going to have a problem with it, because basically the new agents that were licensed last year, they didn't
yeah.
have to do all this. But you know
So,
what?
yeah, and I guess to answer that question, in the sense of where should we're focused on, whether it's listing or buying, I mean, based on our situation, I think you should focus on both.
Right.
You
And
know,
you should
it shouldn't be
focus
just
on
one.
acquiring skills. You should focus on learning, and we're going to say it ad
Well,
nauseum.
I'm glad you said that too, because the other question that I keep getting is, why do I need to role play, and what scripts do you use?
Oh, yes. Skills,
Right?
skills.
So
I'm gonna
Sales
answer that real
skills.
quick. Ready?
go ahead.
Practice
Makes better.
makes perfect. Hey, there you go.
Dun.
Forget about it.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
I get that every time. It's like, why should I role play? I mean, I don't know who to role play with. What scripts am I going to use? Look, ladies and gentlemen, we've been in the office.
Yeah.
When the office was, pumping, we had our bullpen, we had people there. I've heard freestyle scripts.
I don't
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about the hip hop freestyle version of it. I'm talking about freestyle.
Lousy. Bad.
Right?
No,
I've heard
good.
some freestyle scripts that made me cringe. And I was there because I've been there, right? I've heard different scripts here and there. But what I
loose
say is,
translation of the an existing script.
Yeah. Every script starts from the basis or foundation of pretty much the founding fathers of scripts back in the days, right?
Yeah.
So there's so many coaches out there. There's so many people out there that have good scripts. Just read them out loud, learn them, practice them. See which one works for you. Because when you think of the analogy of, a basketball player always does a foul shots because they were trying to practice that perfect shot.
Practice,
right?
Yes.
Keep practicing a script that works for you.
Work
right?
on
and
your
start
skills.
using it, because the thing is, the scripts are only based on to help you know how to ask the next question. Okay, it's not based on the fact that, I'm going to speak to a seller and the seller already knows how I'm going to ask that question. It's more based on the fact of practicing that question.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Once you start role playing, you have a good role playing partner or partners. Okay, it's all based on the best way of doing it is really basing on each other's and how to handle an objection that you actually couldn't handle over the phone.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I'm not interested. No, it's all right. I'm not looking to sell anymore.
Yeah.
Okay?
On this, I'm going to add, basically it's practicing on your script so you can actually free your mind from getting to know what to say next, and also be able to really be in tune with the buyer, the seller, and stuff. And you're gonna have those objections that are always the same, by the way.
Always.
And be able to make that person more comfortable. Their objections are usually stalled, unless the conditions, and then it's different. But they stalled because they're not ready yet. They're not comfortable. So you want to be in tune and make them comfortable. So this is where you have to learn those scripts. You have to learn sales skills. You need to have a methodology, right? We're in sales. We're not at Club Med. We're not like running vacation teams here. We're in sales, so we need to acquire those skills. And a lot of people are resistant to it. So to me, it's like, get on with it. This cycle is gonna make you you're gonna have to be disciplined, or you're gonna have to get out of the industry. I'm serious.
That's true.
No, but it's true. It's true, because naturally people gravitate to the industry thinking that it's like another job, and then when they work it, they realize that it's not. So
it's
then
beyond that.
Naturally, these little cycles that we go through in real estate, just like life, are gonna weed out these agents. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But when they get weeded out, just know that an opportunity, a window, is growing in the background. So either you take the bull by the horns and freaking throw yourself through that goddamn window, okay? But
You
listen,
I just got a vision of a Jim Carrey type of sketch right there.
right? But that's what it is. You got to
Yeah,
do it. You got to just take the initial step. Don't think about, oh my God, I see myself doing this for 3 months. No, think
it's not
about,
about you. It's beyond. Yeah,
I woke up today, right? Can I put an hour aside to prospect? Can I put an hour aside to door
to
knock? Can I
practice.
put
Yeah,
an hour aside, a half hour to role player practice? Because all that's going to do, and we continue to say this every single time, it sharpens your tools, it sharpens
yeah.
your axe.
Absolutely.
You're more
Every time.
prepared to go
High level
in the field.
athletes go back to the basics every day.
Kobe
They're
Bryant,
being paid
you know,
millions of dollars. You want to be a high level real estate salesperson, you got to go back to your
you know
basics
what's crazy?
every
Absolutely.
day. Every day it resets at midnight. Every day you
You
have
know
to
what's
start
crazy?
over again.
Starts at zero.
Yeah.
Kobe Bryant, RIP, Kobe Bryant used to wake up and practice before practice even started.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
my dude would practice, and then the team would get there to practice, and then he'd practice with the team. And chances are he probably didn't leave until everybody else left.
Left, right.
You know what I mean?
And when he did play, it was
It
that
was
was a marvel.
phenomenal.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was phenomenal. He was great. He was great. You know what I mean? So can you be a great basketball player? Maybe not. You know what I mean? But
No,
can
but
you be a
aim
great
at least
realtor?
aim at
Can
that.
you be a great realtor?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
You
Yeah.
sure can. You
Absolutely.
know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's
Yeah.
easy to get into real
Because
estate.
the,
It's
the
not so
difference
hard to
between
get into real
the
estate.
difference between the Kobe and real estate, I feel it doesn't require that much talent. Right? I mean, let's be real. It
I'm
does
not
not
talented at all.
require that much talent as a basketball
Right.
player. Nobody is a born salesperson. You have to learn to become it.
You
Right?
acquire those
Yes.
skills, that
Acquire
knowledge
those skills. So again,
over the
skills,
course of
skills,
practicing.
skills. We're
So
going to talk about skills for the
yeah,
next 6 months. Yes.
I always say that it's either two things. It's either the
Yeah.
will or the skill, and you need to
Yeah.
have both anyways.
Yeah.
So regardless of
That's
that.
it,
But
guys. I think
I actually
yeah.
heard one time that the will outweighs. I think it was the will outweighs the skill, because you could be skilled, and it's the same story as the turtle and the hare,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
The hare was skilled. Clearly, my dude could run laps around that turtle for days.
right.
But what happens is, people, once they're good at something, they like to just kind of sit on the back. They like to just
Yep.
ride the wave, right? And it's cool. We all want to do that. Nobody wants to work forever. People want to kind of say, all right, well, I did the work. I want to enjoy it. And that's kind of what happens, right? So as long as you don't let that happen to you, and you can continue to stay true to yourself, and you continue to say, you know what, time management comes out, I'm going to time block, I'm going to prospect for, even if it's 1 hour a day, that's 5 hours a week. That's what,
all you need. That's a
20
good start.
hours a month, right? Do that for 3 months straight. Then let's see where your business is.
Yeah, yeah. That's
Yeah,
all.
you know.
Guys, I think we're going to run this. We still have so many questions. We probably should run another set of questions next quarter, right? Let's do that.
Put them in our chat. Put them anywhere when you see this
Text
later.
us.
I mean,
if you got our phone number and you have a question, text us. Be like, yo, Ed, Gigi, Israel, I got this question and I want you guys to bring it up on Real Estate Unwrapped. And we're going to say, you got it. You got it. Say no more. What's your question? That's it.
Yep.
Right. I think, we had a lot more questions that you guys wanted answers from. We're running out of time because, it always unearths other stuff, other topics, but it's very important. We should do it probably should we do it at the end of the summer
maybe
before
every
we get
month.
into?
I think maybe every month we could hit it at the end to close out the month.
Sure.
Or quarter, every other month, because I think it's important. So, guys, thank you so much for your questions.
Absolutely.
Until next week. Who's going to be on vacation next week? Not I won't be. Not I'm going to be the following week, I guess. Huh?
Next
week,
week.
10 days.
Next week, though.
Next week or next month? Oh, next month. No, next month. Sorry.
When are you leaving?
August, late August.
Oh, late August. So I'll be early August. All right.
All right. Gigi's early August. I'm mid August. Israel's.
Okay, we'll figure this out. Guys, thank you for tuning in. Again, it was a pleasure. Please feel free to send your questions, send your comments. We're here for everyone.
All right, awesome. Peace.
Peace.